JBNN keep you informed. I'm Michelle Jones. Before we get into the news, please remember to like, subscribe, leave a comment, and to share the news with someone today. Now onto the news. Sissoko lists Trelawney Man as person of interest. The Center for the Investigation of Sexual Offences and Child Abuse, Sissoko, has listed 41-year-old Cleon Buckle, otherwise called Cassava Peace, 876, or Bucky, of Gravel Lane in Albert Town, Trelawney, as a person of interest. Buckley has been asked to report to the Sissoko office at the Ulster Spring Police Station in Trelawney. Investigators from Sissoko believe he may have information that can assist them in an ongoing investigation. Individuals with information regarding Buckle's whereabouts are being asked to contact Sissoko at 876-926-4079, Crime Stopper 311, or the nearest police station. Bus driver gunned down in Spanish Town. A bus driver was gunned down along Burke Road in Spanish Town, St. Catherine, on Wednesday morning. The deceased has been identified as 37-year-old Michael Miller of King Street, Spanish Town. According to reports, around 8:05 a.m., Miller was standing near a plaza on Burke Road when he was approached by two men, one of whom was armed with a gun. Miller attempted to flee but was shot by the gunman. He was hit and collapsed onto a stall. The police were called, and Miller was transported to the nearby Spanish Town Hospital, where he was pronounced dead. No motive has been established for his killing. The Spanish Town Criminal Investigations Branch is probing the matter. Shatter fatally shot during confrontation with police in Westmoreland. A man was fatally shot during a reported confrontation with the police in Savlamar, Westmoreland, on Tuesday morning. The deceased has been identified as 35-year-old Junior James, otherwise called Shatter, of Gullybanks in Savlamar. A submachine gun with 4 rounds of ammunition was seized in the incident. According to reports, at about 6 a.m., a police team went into the area in search of James, who was wanted for questioning in connection with serious crimes, including shootings, murders, and extortion. He was fatally shot during the operation. 60 people have been fatally shot during reported confrontations with members of the security forces since the start of the year. Bail again denied for a woman charged for issuing threats after the death of Tickman. Dana Warren, who is charged with allegedly making threats in a video posted to social media following the shooting death of reputed Don Othniel Lobban, otherwise called Tickman, by the police, was further remanded in court on Tuesday after being denied bail once again. Warren, 22, of Maple in Clarendon, is charged with malicious communication. During a bail application in the St. Catherine Parish Court, her attorney, Rodin Richardson, argued that Warren has no connections with gangsters in St. Catherine. In advocating for his client's release, Richardson referenced the case of dancehall artist Kiprich, who has been charged in relation to a song that police claim endorses gang violence and pays tribute to Lobban. Kiprich was denied the allegation, is out on station bail. Your Honor, I have noticed in recent times someone else has been charged similarly but benefited from bail. I think it is only fitting for bail to be considered, Richardson said. The judge emphasized that Warren is facing a serious charge and that no new evidence has been presented to justify granting bail. As a result, Warren was remanded to facilitate a psychiatric evaluation report, which remains outstanding. The case is scheduled to return to court on April 1. Allegations are that on January 23, the accused used a social media post to issue a threat to the police following Lobban's demise in an alleged confrontation with police. An investigation led the police to Maple in Clarendon, where Warren was arrested. She was subsequently charged following a question and answer session. Cornwall Regional treating fewer gunshot wounds as murders decline. Cornwall Regional Hospital is reporting a decline in the number of people turning up to the facility requiring treatment for bullet wounds, as the police report a decline in murders across the island. But the hospital is grappling with an increased load of trauma cases due to motor vehicle crashes. Dr. Delroy Frey, clinical coordinator for the Western Regional Authority, revealed on Tuesday that 27 fewer people requiring treatment for bullet wounds up to the end of February this year when compared with the corresponding period last year.
The number of motor vehicle accidents we saw during that period was 226, but 24 and 37 gunshot wounds present to our Cornwall Regional Hospital. The same period, 2025, January and February, the number of motor vehicle accidents was 287, but gunshot wound went down to 10. So there's a 27 difference between these 2 months, and that's, one might argue that's a small sample, but in a hospital situation, if we are getting 27 less gunshot wounds in 2 months, that's a plus for us. Motor vehicle accident is burning hospital resources. And these can be avoided if we are just being careful on the road. And not only accidents, I didn't quantify the number of lives that were lost. I mean, there are data out there for those 2 months as well. So that is significant.
Businessman charged in deadly St. Andrew gun attack. Swift investigations by the St. Andrew South Police have resulted in a businessman being charged in connection with the deadly gun attack that left a man dead and another injured on Cinnamon Crescent, St. Andrew last week. 1 week after the incident, detectives from the Division of Charge 26-year-old Jason Monroe, otherwise called Mooney, of Kingsley Avenue, St. Andrew. Monroe has been charged with murder, wounding with intent, possession of a prohibited weapon, unauthorized possession of ammunition, and using a firearm to commit a felony. The deceased has been identified as 27-year-old Warren Grant, otherwise called Zeeks, from Hill Avenue, Kingston 11. Another man was injured during the shooting. According to the police, around 3 p.m., Grant was sitting along the roadway when a man approached and opened gunfire at him. Grant tried to escape, but was chased and shot multiple times before collapsing at the scene. Another man at the location saw what was happening and threw a stone at the gunman, who opened fire and shot him in the abdomen before escaping in a waiting motor vehicle. The injured men were taken to the Kingston Public Hospital, where doctors pronounced Grant dead and admitted the other in stable condition. Monroe was later arrested, interviewed in the presence of his attorney, and formally charged. District Constable granted bail after being caught with ganja at Horizon Remand Center. A district constable who was reportedly caught with ganja at the Horizon Adult Remand Center on Spanish Town Road was granted bail in the sum of $300,000 when he appeared in the Kingston and the St. Andrew Parish Court on Tuesday. Robert Campbell, 25, who appeared before Senior Parish Court Judge Sanchia Burrell, has been charged with dealing in ganja and bringing prohibited articles into a correctional facility. Reports indicate that on February 21, Campbell, who is from Point Hill, St. Catherine, was getting dressed for duty in the barrack room of the correctional facility when a small parcel fell from his pocket. He reportedly stepped on it quickly, which arose the suspicion of a supervising corporal. The corporal then called for another officer and instructed that Campbell and his knapsack be searched. During the search, a package containing 4.18 ounces of vegetable matter resembling ganja, vegetable matter resembling tobacco, a USB cable, $20,650 in cash, a pack of Rizzler, and a lighter were discovered. When cautioned, Campbell reportedly told the police that an inmate had threatened him to smuggle the items into the facility. He has denied the allegations against him. He indicated that he came to work, left his shoes in the barracks, and usually used the bag to store his change of clothes. He said he wasn't aware the items were inside, Campbell's attorney said. Campbell is to return to court on May 15 for a case management hearing. As part of his bail conditions, Campbell is required to report to the Point Hill Police Station every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday between 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. He was also ordered to surrender his travel documents, and a stop order was imposed. Holness promises to help fire victims. Prime Minister Andrew Holness on Tuesday assured residents in central Kingston and Fletcher's Land that the government will provide assistance to people who were affected by the recent fire in the communities. Holness, who visited the area Tuesday afternoon, advised residents that his administration would do its best to assist those who were displaced by last Wednesday's fire.
That we are going to assist those persons who have been displaced by the fire. We're going to try and do it as quickly as possible. But it is not something that can happen overnight. Before we can assist in any meaningful way other than the humanitarian assistance, which is already in train, the building assistance, we have to determine the ownership of the land. That's number one. And then we have to do some social investigation into the circumstances of the persons to determine the extent to which we can help. All of that we are going to put into train to ensure that we can help the persons dislocated to come back to some form of normalcy.
If them not have no title for them yard, they still
Very good question. That we cannot build on property that we don't know who own it. True. We can't just go onto people's property and build.
That makes sense.
So we have to establish ownership. Yeah. Once ownership is established, then we can determine what we can do, whether it is to replace a building or to give a grant. Now, for those persons who are living on property that they don't own or don't have the title to, then we still will help, but we will help you maybe with building material or some other form of assistance. But we cannot build on land that is not our land, or we don't have the right to build on it. That's just the reality of the situation. So I understand from the Member of Parliament that the land situation is being assessed, that they do have titles and permission. And so for those that they don't have the title, or they know who the owners are, then we will seek to get permission from the owners to build. But the first thing is to establish who owns the land so that the government itself is not violating people's property rights by going on to people's land and doing whatever we choose. That's not how we operate. All right, so anyway, thank you very much. Thank you for the welcome, and we'll do as much as we can very quickly. All right?
Non-communicable diseases, NCDs, or lifestyle diseases are largely preventable, but still remain among the major causes of death on the island. Let us look at one of the significant factors for NCD and what you can do.
Most of us are very familiar with salt. The most common is table salt. The chemical name is sodium chloride, and it's a common component of the food supply in most countries. There are several other sources of salt, including monosodium glutamate, or MSG as it's commonly known, and sodium bicarbonate, or baking soda. Salt is commonly used to flavor food and is used as a binder, stabilizer, as well as preservative. Sodium, or salt as we know it, plays an important role in the proper functioning of our body, with just about 500 milligrams needed daily to carry out normal body functions, such as water balance and nerve conduction. However, most of us are consuming much more than is needed.
Global estimates suggest that persons consume between 9 to 12 grams of salt per day, which is 1.5 to 2 times the recommended intake level.
This briny affair is one of the key factors in our non-communicable disease burden. In simple terms, our overconsumption of this nutrient is contributing to the development of several diseases.
When we look at the heart and cardiovascular system, increased salt intake is associated with high blood pressure, with ischemic heart disease, with hypertensive heart disease, as well as heart failure. For the brain, it's associated with stroke, as well as dementia. For the kidneys, with chronic kidney disease and renal stones. For the stomach, there is an association with increased risk of stomach cancer. For the bones, there's problems related to osteoporosis.
High blood pressure or hypertension affects 1 in 3 Jamaicans, and another third is pre-hypertensive. Salt consumption is also often accompanied by increased intake of calories, which increases the propensity for obesity.
Given that the entire population is at risk of NCDs, given the significant impact and the burden of NCDs, it's imperative that there is sustained action to mitigate the effects of salt consumption.
In 2021, the Ministry of Health and Wellness launched the Jamaica Salt Consumption Knowledge, Attitudes and Practice Jamaica Salt CAP study. It was designed to provide local baseline data for strengthening strategies to eliminate overconsumption of salt within the population. The ministry is partnering with the National Non-Communicable Disease Committee, the National Health Fund, and the University of the West Indies on the study.
One important aspect of addressing the health concerns of any population is through research. This study, therefore, will help to determine the knowledge, attitude, and practices of our population as it relates to salt intake and strengthen the implementation of strategies to reduce.
This project has specific objectives. So firstly, we aim to estimate the dietary sodium consumption among Jamaicans using spot urine sodium analyses. We want to evaluate the salt content in commonly consumed packaged foods sold in supermarkets. We also want to evaluate the sodium content in commonly used consumed foods in local restaurants. Then we will conduct a national survey to get information on knowledge, attitudes, and practices regarding salt intake in Jamaica.
The World Health Organization, WHO, recommends less than 5 grams of sodium per day for adults and less than 2 grams for children under 11 years of age. 1 in 10 Jamaicans consume excess salt by adding it during cooking or at the table, as well as by frequent consumption of salty sauces or high-sodium processed foods. A significant amount of sodium also comes from ready-made meals and prepared foods, including processed meats, breakfast cereals, and snacks. It's a scenario where the entire population is at risk for NCDs. Minimizing this habit for excess salt in the diet of Jamaicans is one of several goals informing the Ministry of Health and Wellness's NCD agenda. The mission to shake the salt habit begins with the young. Lowering sodium in children's diets today can help prevent heart disease later in life, especially for those who are overweight. Limit their consumption of salty snacks. And remember, no more than 2 grams per day from all food sources for those under 11 years of age. Let's also shop and cook smart. Use less or no salt when cooking and add more flavor to your food by using fresh herbs and salt-free seasoning instead. Also, keep a watch on the foods that are high in salt and limit the consumption. Take the time to carefully read the nutrition labels on food products to determine those providing the healthier options, and be mindful of the portion size you consume. Also, seek out recipes for healthy, tasty meals that can be prepared with little or no salt.
Jamaica is a signatory to the United Nations International Covenant on Economic, Social and Cultural Rights, which recognizes the right of everyone to the highest standard of health. And we believe that in order to achieve this, we must address the crises of NCDs and the role that excess salt, sugars and fats play in making Jamaicans susceptible to getting a lifestyle disease.
Jamaica has committed to the World Health Organization voluntary target to reduce sodium or salt consumption by 30% by 2025. Achieving this requires buy-in from all stakeholders, including manufacturers, retailers, health professionals, and consumers.
We have a duty to ensure that Jamaicans are aware of the harmful effects of unhealthy diets and have access to important nutritional information, which will allow them to make healthier food choices. It has to be tackled initially from the prevention perspective, and the core of that is consumer information, and then policies that encourage or nudges health-seeking behavior.
We all must do our part to break this briny affair. Shake the salt habit and stay healthy.
JBN keep you informed. Please remember to subscribe, like, share, leave us a comment, and click the notification bell to receive our daily news items.